Welcome to part 2 of winter camping in my 2023 Chevy Bolt. I'm about to head back up to the same place that I camped last time, but this time I'm going into the backcountry. So I will not be parked on an electric site, at least not for the first night. My plan is obviously I want to charge up along the way, so I'm topped up, but the car is going to be sitting in about -10, -12 overnight the first night. Then I'm going to check how it was doing in the morning. I do know someone who's going to be camping on an electrical site the Friday and Saturday. Today's Thursday, and they told me that I can go and plug in on their site if I need to. So I should mention that I've learned a lot since my first trip. One of the things that really ate up a lot of my kilometers last time was having the climate control turning on and off. I was turning it off so that I figured I would save by not having it on, but of course then when it did get cold and when I did have to defrost the windows, it was on full blast, so it used probably more energy than it would have had I let it just stay on low. So on this trip I'm going to be leaving the climate control on but low, and I'll see how that affects things. All right, I have driven 156 kilometers from home. I am in Gravenhurst, where there are 3 chargers here. I would have preferred to stop in Huntsville, but there's only 2 there, and the last time I was there, there was only 1 working, so I figured it was safer to top up here. Also, by topping up here, I can make it to the campground where I'm going, no problem. I got about 130 kilometers to go, and even though the car will be sitting out overnight in cold temperatures, it should be fine. And then I will be able to plug in at a campsite tomorrow. And I'm just gonna let it fill up a little bit beyond 80% so that I have a buffer when I get to the campground. But so far so good. Went and grabbed some food, and I'm just sitting here waiting for the last little bit to charge. I have made it to the climate control, and outside temperature are still the biggest impacts on my range, but it's winter. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So yes, I have arrived at the campground. I'm going to be hauling that sled full of gear and then come back and getting another sled full of gear about a kilometer in, and that's where I'll be camped. So yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, so I was able to plug in the car overnight, which was great. Got up to 80% by this morning. Then took it for a ride. We drove to do some activities here in the park, and I think I drove about 40K total. And plugged in again, and it'll be all charged up to 100% for me by 9 a.m. in the morning. So I'm leaving tomorrow, so that's perfect. That will get me either all the way home, or I'm probably going to stop and charge up on the way home anyway, just so I am topped up. I am now stopped at the chargers in Gravenhurst. I'm on my way home, and I was doing really good actually when I left Algonquin. The temperature was up to about 5 degrees, and it really is noticeable, the difference in usage. I'm back home. That was a pretty good trip. It was much better than the last time I went. It wasn't as cold, and the cold had a huge impact. Also, the way I had been using the climate control was wrong. I kept turning it off, thinking that would save me. And then, of course, it would get really, really cold. The car would steam up, and I'd have to turn it on. And that meant it was on full blast, using a lot more energy than if I kept it on low, which is pretty much what I did for most of the trip down. At the very beginning, I had it off because it was sunny. The car was really warm. But for most of the trip, I had it on low. I had it set at like 19 degrees Celsius. Looking at my stats, I used 47.6 kilowatt hours out of a 65 kilowatt hour battery. So that means that had I not even stopped to charge, I would have easily made it home. So that's good to know. I did a total of 276.7 kilometers, average 17.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I am really curious to see what that's going to be like when the weather is warmer. I've had some experience on a couple of days when it did get a little bit warmer, and it was way, way better even than that. So yeah, so that's good to know. I can drive the 276 kilometers from my home to Algonquin Provincial Park to go camping in the winter. Leaving it overnight, the one night I lost a little bit, about 3 or 4%, at about minus 11 or minus 12 Celsius out. The next night I did plug in, but it was going to be down to about minus 21, 22. I would have lost probably a little bit more, but probably would have had enough to make it back to a charger. So I'm happy. I'm confident in the car's ability to do what I need it to do in the wintertime. And then the summer, yeah, I'll do another video then once it gets warm, and then I'll be interested to see what happens when I have a canoe sitting on the roof, how that's going to affect it. But this has been a great trip.